Alright, so this is the start of the iOS development course today, and we're going to look at one example to come up with at the beginning. It's going to be called a ScrollView. And the ScrollView example is actually coming from the bhacker.com website. And what we're looking at, and just so you have the tutorial with you, we're going to run through a couple of tutorials. Tonight's all about running through tutorials, because I believe I talked to you too much last time. We haven't really done very much in this class. I think we've done actually more in the iOS, in the Objective-C course than we have in this class. So we're going to look at, not Java, hold on one second. We're going to go into iOS application development, and we're going to go into example projects on the bottom, and this is what you want to download. ScrollView example, which is the first one we're going to look at, and then we're going to look at the basic projects, which is a zip file, so you want to download that one too. And probably we'll get to the practice with GUI controls tutorial. That's number 3, if I remember the order. And then we're going to go back and do project number 2. We've already done project number 1, it's Hello World. And then we'll do project number 2. Project number 2 works with UI views as well. So we'll look at UI alert views as well. And I believe the UI alert views is also in the same location. Let me just take a look here real quick. Under example projects, well, it should have been in this location. Hold on one second. Let me look for it in another location. Previous video lectures, PowerPoint lectures. Yes, it's in the PowerPoint lectures. There's a tutorial here. So when we get to that one, I'll show you where that is. It's a PPT file. So all of the, reason why I'm showing this to you is all the stuff I'm going to go through tonight is out here on this website. There's another website that I'm going to use as well that is off of one of the workshop websites. And it is, let me just open up the browser again. It comes up automatically. It is going to be, which if you're gung-ho and you want to like start cranking out a ton of tutorials, you want to look ahead, you might find something interesting. If you go under the digital arts, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th down off of, and you're wondering, well, what website is this? This is bhacker.com/workshops. Workshops. I'm slowly converting these into tutorials and I'm putting them elsewhere, but these are mostly the original tutorials. So if you go into bhacker.com/workshops and you click on the digital arts one, there's 16 tutorials on here with solutions for you. I'm slowly basing it. In fact, we're going to look at, this is where the scroll view is coming from. This is the finished product. You might want to use it only if you want to drag and drop the images in there. Otherwise, I'm going to show you what the scroll view does in a few minutes, and you can drag and drop images on your own. But this is the project here that you might be interested in looking at. But just know that this is another resource that I'm also using. All right. So we have downloaded ScrollView. I have downloaded ScrollView. Here it is here. I'm going to open it up in preview. Well, except for preview is not one of my options. What happened to my preview? And let's open it up in Text Wrangler. There we go. So what is ScrollView going to do here? Let me actually make the text a little bit bigger here. Ah, much better. Oh, that's too big. That's better. Alright. If you have a computer and you have Xcode installed, we're going to run through this tutorial step by step. I'm going to say, actually this is kind of proof of concept as well to see if this tutorial still works, because this was based upon an earlier version of Xcode. So I'm going to try it out, so you guys are my guinea pigs at the same time. But at the same time, we're going to learn how to do a scroll view. What does this mean? Well, we're going to take a bunch of images and we're going to throw them into an app, so that when you click on the images with your hand, you go like this with it. the images will flip one after the other. Why do we want to do that? Because everyone likes to put images in there. So you can create an app for your family photos or something and then click through it. Plus also you can click pages through the scroll view as well. And you can put different size images in there as well, and it kind of shows you how to put together another single view application that's going to have a little bit more functionality, and it's a different type of view. So we're looking at integrating different controllers in with this one as well. So the same concept works for many different other types of views. This one happens to be a scroll view that we're going to look at. Alright, so go ahead and open up a brand new Xcode app. And I'm actually going to go, I'm going to my Open Recent and I'm going to clear my menu because I don't like looking at all the old projects that I have in here. So when I bring up Xcode, mine's empty now, which is kind of nice. Did you guys want to do it at 6:30 or did you want to do it now?
Do it now, but I know it's a little early.
No, it's a good stopping point because we haven't started yet.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. I'm pausing my video. Okay, so go ahead and open up Xcode. You got Xcode open. We're going to create a single view application. So create a new Xcode project. And now what we're looking at now is a very simple application, but it's going to demonstrate a couple of different things, which is why we're doing it. And it's the view concept. So go ahead and select, in fact, let me just make sure I'm following the directions correctly here. Create a project type, a view-based application or single view application. This is an old tutorial that definitely the wording has changed a little bit. You want to give the application name scroll image or scroll view. Yes.
Where is this actually this document?
The document is where I was trying to tell you if anyone new had shown up. You can get it from here. Well, actually, this is scroll view on pictures. Actually, here, I'll download it from here. It's also available from the website. So if you do it from here, this is, let me zoom in on here so you can see this URL here. This is at bhacker.com/workshops/DA for digital arts apps, so DAAPPS. The same thing is also available through the bhacker.com class website. It's in a text file. I just downloaded the PDF file actually instead. The finished product is right here. The reason why you might want the finished product is because I'm going to show you how to drag and drop. We're going to build it from scratch, but I'm going to show you how to drag and drop the images and stick them in. We good? I'm sorry? Yes.
Can you show that link as well?
Yes, I can. It's really big right now, hopefully. You can see it from the back?
Yeah.
How are you able to do this on a IBM ThinkPad? I'm not going to ask. Okay. Are we good? You may also get to this link from bhacker.com/workshops. As I was telling the class, so some people did come in later. As I was telling the class before some people arrived, I'm recycling some of these and I'm organizing them. And I'm picking and choosing certain ones. There's actually, if you click on this link here, it says Digital Arts. There's 16 other apps. We're only going to go over one of them, actually. But there's 16 other ones that I might hit bits and pieces of some. But I'm reworking them. Some of them are from older Xcode versions. Some of them are kind of repeated in concept. But what I'm trying to do is focus on certain concepts. So tonight, it's about views. So we're going to look at WebView, ScrollView, and different types of ways of nesting views and different things with a single view. Okay. So now that I have downloaded the PDF file from there, I may also show you that the file that I'm looking at right here is from the bhacker.com website. So this one is up here just to reiterate the point. Just in case you want to look at this one, it is going to be in example projects. Excuse me, it's not going to be an example project. It is going to be in, I guess, I'm sorry, it will be in example projects. It's called ScrollView example down on the bottom. This is a text file. So the one I actually like better is this one over here, which is a PDF file. So I'm going to open up the PDF file because I can cut and paste out of it better. So, all right, so open up one, and this one, well, this one says call it ScrollView. The other one was called ImageView. So let's call this one ScrollView. and use the automatic reference counting option, but don't use storyboard because we're going to use a single view. So go ahead and close this. I have multiple copies of this open now. Go back to Xcode. And now we got as far as here. So I'm going to call this one ScrollView. And I'm going to leave it on iPhone. I'm not going to use storyboards. And I'm not going to include unit tests. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop. And now I have it. So the one on my desktop was probably called ImageView or something else. So yeah, I'm trying to think probably. ScrollView. Oh, I didn't have it on my desktop, which is good. Okay, very good. Okay, so if we follow through step by step, what I want to do is just run through a couple of different ones of these so that we can see different, and as soon as we get done with the ScrollView, I'm going to do a WebView next. And we're going to take a look at the different types of view concepts in terms of the application development. So, we know, and I know it was a couple weeks ago before some of you looked at this stuff, we have the XIB file, which is the interface builder file, which is going to hold our views, and it's going to be basically holding our user interface. So we're going to drag what's called a scroll view from the library, and we're going to place it on the view window. So I'm going to go back to Xcode here, and if I click on the view controller.xib, I have the view that comes up. And down here on the bottom right hand side of the library, I'm going to type in ScrollView. Actually, I just typed in scroll, and I got this scroll view that comes up. So this is how we're going to embed a view into a window and stick stuff in the view. We're going to do the same thing with a web page. And another example, and we'll see after we do this a couple of times, you'll see any view, it all works the same way. You just have to figure out what methods are we going to run on the view and how we're going to put something together. So go ahead and drag this and stick it in the window. When you stick it in the window, here's the other thing too. You have the option of making it full size. And so I'm going to make it full size because I want it to take up the entire window. And then I'm going to drop it down. If I click on the little thing that's down here on the bottom, it's an arrow actually. It opens up the side screen, the side panel here. And on the view, on the objects, I can see I have the view, and then I have the scroll view that's inside of the view. If I drag it to the wrong spot and stick it outside, then I've got it. They're not nested anymore. I have the view here, and then I have the scroll view here. Don't want that. Let me take this away so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is an often source of problems. You think you put it in there, but it's not in there, and you want to check it, make sure it's nested. I can actually go like this and drag it in here, and I just stuck it inside. If I want to make sure I did it that way, or I can drag it in and stick it inside. Because I've stuck it inside, I don't actually have to make it full size. I can bring it down, resize it, stick it inside like that if I wanted to. Because I can put multiple views in here. I can put like 2 or 3 different views inside. There's no limit. This is going to be tied to one UI controller, which is going to be the view controller. This is one UI. This is one view. So our hierarchy puts the scroll view here. If I wanted to, I could put a scroll view inside of the scroll view. If I do that, I click on the side over here, and I bring it out, and I put another one in. And lo and behold, let me make this one a different size, actually. Oops, no, you can see it. Here, let me make it a little bit smaller. You don't have to do this, actually, don't do this, because you just have to delete it. Here, let me just get rid of this. What I want to do is make this guy smaller. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to stick him in. I'm going to stick him inside. So now I have a scroll view inside of the view, and then I have a scroll view and a scroll view. But these are actually at the same level, and I can tell because of this here. So I can actually go like this. And now I have 2 scroll views inside. And then I can go like this and put one scroll view inside of the other scroll view. So one's inside the other, which is inside of the other, which is inside of the other. Yes?
So that looks very neat. Can you say, I'd like this to scroll horizontally? I'd like this
Yep, we're going to do that next. what we're going to do is we're going to populate this with a bunch of images. We're going to leave it with one. I'm going to remove these views. We put one view in here. Populate it with some images and scroll it horizontally, vertically, or however we want to scroll it. The reason why I'm showing you this is because it's kind of interesting how we can put images on top of images on top of images. As an example, the classic map program. We have a map of this, and we have a map of that. And we can pick up clicks, because what I can do is make a property out of this. And so I can change what's in this particular view, which might be a subview of another view. Now, mind you, it's a square looking rectangle, right? But we can put an image in there, and then we can hide the background of the image, make it transparent, and now we've got the shape of California, or now we have the shape of Florida, or we have the shape of something. And when the user clicks on the shape that's inside of the view, that will bring up area codes or something for California or for Texas, which is one of the common things of it. So what we're doing, this is a scroll view. Let me go back here for a second. We have this thing called an image view. So I'm going to type in image, not part of this project. In fact, I'm going to start fresh when I look at this project. Now I have an image view in here. And so the image view, I can turn the view on, turn the view off, hide the view, show the view, change the image in the view, move the view around. I could put this, we're going to put an image view programmatically in here with these images. So what we do is we take the image, put it in the image, put it inside of the scroll view, and then control the activity of the scroll view, which we can do. In fact, we can take and embed, if I just type the word here, view, I see I have a progress view, table view, collection view, image view, text view, web view. We're going to look at that one next. Map view, scroll view, picker view. You know, the views are unlimited. And then you can add more views to this if you want to as well, add on to the library. So it's common to nest views, long story short. Yes?
You got this placeholder in objects, this window.
I got this object by making sure that this over here was selected. And then down here on the bottom, you want to click on the third icon in. If you're looking at this one here, you're looking at code snippets, and then we've got file templates, and we got, I don't know what this one is, media library. This one here is going to give us our object library. With inside of our object library, we can scroll to different ones, or we can just leave it on object. I would recommend just leaving it on the higher level component, the object. If you go down here to controls, you're going to get a subsection of the objects. It's not going to show you everything. So I'm going to put it back on objects. Also, you can put it so it makes it look like a visual versus a line. So I like the line. Some people like the visual. All right, I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff I stuck in here. Now I have a scroll view. It's just what I wanted. So I'm going to make the scroll view a little bit bigger. I'm actually not going to have it fill up the whole page. Instead, I'm going to maybe change. I'm going to change the background. I'll make everything green. So I'm going to make this one a nice shade of green. There we go. And then I have this scroll view. So if I load the program right now, I'm going to see just this window. Hopefully I'm not going to see anything at all, because nothing's in the window. Yes, I can. I will in 1 second. 1 second, as soon as I get this thing to load. You see I have this green background, but you can't see anything in the view because there's nothing in the view. I haven't populated the view, I just put the view out there. Common problem. You put the view out there, you think you're loading something in the view, but it's not loading it into the view, or you forgot to load it into the view. So how did I change the background color? Let's go back. If you click on the window itself, you'll see a blue kind of background on the window. If I click on the view, the blue background goes away. So you can click on the window border or the window, and once the blue shows up, on the right hand side are all of the properties that you can set for the window. As an example, one of the things that I like to do is actually take it off a Retina full screen and put it on Retina 3.5 inch because I like the shorter look. It's for different series iPhones. I can also change the orientation from portrait to landscape. I can change the background color here. In fact, I can make it a little bit more orange looking if I want to. If I want to get rid of this piece here that I was showing you before, I just click on the little arrow down here on the bottom. Gets rid of it. So what you're going to try to do originally when you start working on some of these projects is play around with the interface and get familiar with some of the different components. And you'll figure out how to navigate. Learning how to navigate Xcode is a course in itself. So, yes?
How did you get the different, all I have is grays and blacks.
When you click on the window, or was it when you clicked on the view? When you clicked on the window, do you see anything over here that says background?
Yeah.
Does it say Alpha 1 up above it?
Yep.
Huh, interesting. There is a grayscale option. Let me see. By default, it should not be selected. Top bar, bottom bar, opaque. To tell you quite off, I don't know where the grayscale option is or why yours is on grayscale. Let me take a look. Let me just take a quick peek here. So I would do maybe. Actually, maybe you know I see that.
Oh. Is that?
Did it work?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize that it just gave you the colors in the wheel, and it didn't give you the colors in the menu. Anyway, for anyone, see, mine has the colors here. Oh no, it doesn't. This is recently used colors. Ah, which is why you didn't see it. All right, mystery solved. I learned something new actually on that one. Now I know it doesn't show it to you in the menu. Anything else before we continue? All right. The reason why I changed the background colors is because I want to know if I've gotten anything, if my view is visible. Which is, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. But all right, let's go back to the tutorial. Let's see what we're supposed to do next. Probably going to have to wire that view is what I'm thinking. Because usually, okay, so if you haven't noticed, all of my tutorials work a certain way. You'll focus on the UI first. Wire everything to the .h second. Put the code in for the .m third. So you don't have to create the UI first, but it's just one way of doing it. So double click on the, drag a UI view over there from the library. Okay, we did that. So click on the tuxedo icon to open up the viewcontroller.h file. Drag the scroll view over to the .h. We're going to create a property for it, and we're going to call it myScroll. So for those people who were just in the iOS course, we just did this, but let's do it again. Click on the editor, which is the little tuxedo icon up here. The tuxedo editor. I like to get rid of the side panel too. I'll click over here just to get rid of it. And I'm working on getting these fonts bigger. I just don't want to do it today, and I forgot to do it actually. This is a different computer that has a lot more memory on it, but my Xcode configuration is slightly different. So I clicked on a scroll view, and I'm going to UI scroll view. Press down the control button, and then I keep saying right, but it's really a left mouse click. It's a left drag over here. So because I have a 2-button mouse, I have a right and a left button, but my right and left are backwards. So, I mean, in my head they are. And what I'm really doing is I'm pressing on the left mouse button, the select button, and I'm dragging it over. What does it do as I do, not as I say? Alright, I'm going to call this one, what was this one going to be called again? This one was supposed to be called myScroll, so I'm going to call it myScroll. And leave it on UI view, and this is the interesting thing. So, the UI views, okay, so if you were in the iOS course earlier, Objective-C, I mentioned ID today, and I said, well, you can put it on ID as generic type. UI scroll can't be generic. It's a view component. Most of the view components have to be of the object type of the view component. You can't make them IDs, like buttons, and because we're not going to interchange it, because the functionality for a UI scroll view is different from a UI web view completely. So it's strongly typed. So it has to be, it can't be dynamically typed. That's why we nest them. We stick a view of everything on there. And we only use the ones we want to use. Instead of having one ID that's used for all of the components, it's kind of the opposite thinking. Not quite as memory conservative though either. But until we actually make the instance of the object, we're not really using it. So it doesn't matter what we drag on there. If we're not using it, it's not going to take up any memory. It will be weak. Leave it on weak. Go ahead, press connect. And then we now have this property. When we click on it, it does this. So we can see it. Alright, back to the scroll view. So call the connection my scroll. We have this. So we're going to change the view to we're going to change the view to the viewController.m file and then add the synthesize. This is rewritten actually. The order is different in the text file. I rewrote this so that you would do the synthesize right after the property. So up here on the top where it says viewController.h, go ahead and flip it over to viewController.m, and then up here in between the implement and the end, I usually get rid of the interface up here. So I'm deleting where it says @interface, @end, because we already have that in the interface file. For those people who haven't been here for the last couple weeks, check the videos out. You'll get the. I'm not going to go over the difference between the interface and the implementation, but add synthesize, and what we call it my scroll view or my scroll. If you let the compiler do it for you, you just start typing it and just press return is what I'm doing, and it's putting in there for me automatically. So now we have the property in the .h and we have the synthesize that matches it in the .m. So now we can use the scroll view. What are we going to do with the scroll view? Well, we're going to write some methods to do something with the scroll view, which is kind of the typical way of programming these kind of views. So on the viewDidLoad method, we're going to set some initial variables. And the initial variables that we're going to set, is this the one that has the error in it? I think this might actually have an error in it. Remember we did this one? And I think this one has an error in it. I think, did you follow the PDF or the text file?
I think this one.
This one here? Okay, we're going to find an error message where we're going to have to initialize one of these variables that I left out. So, because I didn't see you here, I started with this example thinking I didn't know how much later you were going to be. So, anyway, so this is a repeat of something you've already done. In the implementation, in the .m file, in the viewDidLoad method of the .m file here, we're going to remove the original method, which is not, there's nothing really in there. We're going to leave one line there. We're going to leave the viewDidLoad for the super, actually. And then we're going to copy this in here and we're going to put it in between the implement and the end. So in the viewController.m file, which is what we're in, underneath the synthesize, I'm going to just paste this in here. And of course, my word wrapping didn't work, so I'm going to make some new lines here. Alright, what did I just do? I defined, let me zoom in so you can see this, I defined 3 variables. 3 variables are from CG float data type. The keyword constant says they're sort of like a, it's like pi. And it's not going to change. These aren't going to change either. What are these going to be? This is going to be the height and the width of our object scroll. So we're setting it as k scroll object height, k scroll object width is going to be equal to 600 by 600. We might need to change that, especially because I made my screen smaller and it's not fitting up the whole thing. We can adjust those settings, so just keep that in mind. It's the height and the width of the scrolled images that we're setting. And then we've set the number of images to equal 5, which means I'm going to load in 5, because I'm going to have a for loop that's going to go through 0 through 4, or maybe it goes 1 through 5. I haven't looked at it in a while. And we're going to scroll through, because what we're going to do is populate the scroll view with a bunch of images and then set the scroll horizontal to it so we can scroll left to right on the view. So that's some initial data that we stuck in there. And some people from the Objective-C course, I was going to say from the Objective-C course, should be complaining right now because you think that stuff would go in here, right? Well, it probably should go in here. But it's going in here because this is real sloppy. And actually, I'm just kind of showing you and I'm making a point of showing you. You can put data declarations in the .m or you can put them in the .h. Doesn't really matter. You're supposed to, if you're following object orientation, you should define all of your data in the .h file, and then you have methods that manipulate that data. But we're not going to write any methods. So it's kind of a cheat sheet to put it in the same scope as the implementation, is what we've done here. So it's in the .m file because we're going to use it in the .m file, which is kind of old school. It's not really proper object-oriented programming. But here's where it comes into place, though, where we've got, let's see. We've got some copy and paste the following and place it in between the implementation and the end. So this is the, Remove the original viewDidLoad method. I didn't remove that, but let me go back and take a look at that viewDidLoad. There's nothing in here to remove, so I can remove the comments out if I want to. Because on the viewDidLoad, we're going to load the images inside of the scroll. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to have a viewDidLoad. Probably here it is right here. Here's the viewDidLoad. So what we're going to do is kind of cut and paste the code, stick it in there, copy 5 images in there. I'm going to show you how the code works so you can sort of put the pieces together. So I'm going to start out backwards though. I'm going to cut and paste the viewDidLoad and stick it in there just because that's the method I'm coming up to first, which is why the instructions wanted you to get rid of that method. So I'm going to sit here and go copy. And then my viewDidLoad, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the super viewDidLoad on the top for right now because I don't know if it's repeated, and I want to make sure it is repeated. So I'm going to paste this in here. And I'm going to see a message, but I'm not going to worry about the message right now. So in fact, I see that this super viewDidLoad wasn't loaded in here, which is interesting. You don't really need to load it, but we'll just leave it alone. So what are we doing with this method here? Self is the application itself, and it's like this in some languages. So self is me.view.set background color. So it's going to set the color for me. So just the same way as I set that color in the view, it's going to set my color to view flip side background color, whichever background color that was, which is going to be transparent. So it's just kind of interesting. It's a UI color as the object. And we're sending UI color the view flip side background color, which is a predefined color that's set for the background. And we're setting the view, which is going to be the window view. We're not talking about the scroll view yet. We're just talking about the view. What is that going to do? It's going to make it transparent so we don't actually see the color anymore. We'll see what happens with that actually. We're setting the myScroll, which is the myScroll, which is the variable of the property that we set for the scroll view. We're setting that one, we're setting the background color to black color. So you can kind of see, just to review, because I know it's been a while since we've looked, anyone's probably looked at Objective-C code and just now beginning to become familiar with it. This is the object, myScroll. We're sending a message to the object. We're sending it set background color. This means we're sending it a parameter. What are we sending it? Black color, which is black color is a message that we're sending to UI color as an object type. So return black color, which is like the setters and the getters, or the property and the synthesize, if I've lost anyone. It's how we can say myLabel space text. We're getting the text from myLabel. Well, we're getting black color. We can change that to white color, blue color, orange color, but it has to be a built-in color. Black color is predefined by the UI color object. So again, yes, when you go back to the internet or you go back to another source, you go, well, this is black color. This is black color equals 2. All right. So there we go. I'm gonna get this so it doesn't word wrap as much. There we go. So then we're setting a set can cancel content touches to no, which means it's turning off some of the touch control. So sometimes you can put images in and you touch on the image and it does something, or like a double touch or a drag the image. So we're just turning that stuff off essentially. myScroll here, oops, there's another line return. myScroll.indicator style is going to be a UI scroll view indicator style white, which is basically setting one of the styles for it. And how are you going to know about that? Well, you're going to look at ScrollView and see what all the methods are to change the parameters, to customize it, to turn off scroll bars, turn on scroll bars. Here we have clips to bound, yes, and clips scroll enabled, yes, and then we have scroll paging enabled, yes. And then we have, lo and behold, the code to put the images in. So on the viewDidLoad, which is sort of like main, in a lot of ways, and I kind of made I put some spaces in there and made the code a little bit readable, but it's this, I didn't edit any of that code. It should be the same thing that you pasted in. We're setting the properties of the scroll view, which is kind of typical in the beginning, and then underneath it, next we're going to populate it. So we have this counter integer NSU integer, which is going to be NS for next step, unsigned integer 1, or I, excuse me. Just the same way as saying integer I could have just said integer I on this actually, would have worked just fine. I is equal to 1, I is less than or equal to, here's that number 5, k number of images, which is 5. I++, for those people who have a Java or C++ background, that should look familiar. It's a standard for loop, which is kind of an interesting thing about Objective-C if you're not taking the Objective-C course. All of the looping constructs, the if, then, else, everything's the same as in C. It's very similar in terms of that, and even a lot of the basic concepts are the same. So now we have an NS string, and it's going to be the image name, and that's going to be equal to the NS string with format. Here's the format. It's going to start out IMG, and it's going to have a number next to it, and it's going to end with JPG, JPG. And then we're going to have I for the image number, which is I substituted in. So we're going to have image, well, it's going to start out with 1. So we're going to have image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4, image 5. So just remember that's what the images are going to be titled. I'm going to show you how to drag and drop some images and stick them into the project in a few minutes. And then UI image, UI image. We're going to have an image named with the image name. Well, what's the image name? That's the images that we just put in. So we're creating a string. And we're going to create images that are holding the string values as the names of the strings. And then we're going to use those images to load them into the image view. So in the UI image view, so we have this string, and then we have the image that's being created from the strings, which are just nothing more than the names of the images. The names of the images are going to load that object in. Because on the image view, we're going to allocate here. We're going to allocate memory, and we're going to initialize it with an image. So the image view, we're going to call it image view. It's going to be equal to the image view alloc init image view. Basically what we did is the same thing as we did in previous examples where we've created, especially in Objective-C class, when you create an object instance and reference and then you allocate and you initialize the object that's going to be referenced by that reference pointer that you created, which is what we've done here. And if you're stressing on the vocabulary right now, and if it's your first course, then you'll get used to the vocabulary after a while. And go back and look at some of the other videos. This stuff is building, but unfortunately the problem with today is you've had your mind rested for the last week or so and you haven't looked at this. So some of this is like, what? Fresh stuff. I put some more spaces in here so you can see what's going on. And I have an extra, I believe I have an extra, there we go. I had an extra bracket in there which was causing an error message. So we've allocated an image view, and the image view got allocated and initialized. Go back through and look at the previous videos to see what alloc and init is all about. I've covered that. So now we have a couple of different other variables that we're initializing here. We have a CG rectangle rec, because these are going to be rectangle shaped views. And it's going to be ImageView.frame is going to be called our rec. Our rec.size .height, our rec.size.width is going to be equal to these. Well, these should look familiar to you. These are the scroll object height and width that we set right up here. So we could just hard set them. We could have just hard set them down here, but then I wouldn't have been able to show you variables and constant variables. And we put the keyword constant here because we don't want to change it down here accidentally. So it makes it so it will be constant, it won't change. And then we have my scroll add subview image view. So and we're in a loop. So for each one of the images that matches the string name that we've given it, we're finding an image with that string name, putting it into an image view, taking the image view and adding it as a subview to the scroll view. We did it without dragging and dropping an image view into the scroll view. Instead, we're creating them programmatically. That's equivalent to me doing this. Whoops. Image. But doing it 5 times. 1 for each image. And then taking those, which is the other way you could do it, but it wouldn't be much of a learning exercise. So there's a couple of different approaches that you could take these. I can load in 5 of these suckers in here, and I could populate them out with images. In fact, here, if I take this guy down here as an example, we'll put him on the bottom. Watch this. I'm going to move my scroll view up. You don't do this unless you want to. Oops. Hello. Putting him in the view. Where did he go? Hold on 1 second. He's still outside of the view. Stick him inside the view. Here we go. That's why this comes in handy, because like I thought it went off the screen. I can just easily nest it. So I can see I have the view, I have the scroll view, and the image view all at the same level. And let's not worry about constraints right now. But I don't want it overlapping, so I'm going to move it down here. There we go. Now I can come over here and go image. Well, I don't have any images. I got this default.png. I can put that one in there. I don't have any images in the project yet because I haven't loaded anything yet. But I could take my 5 images, load them into the project, and put them into these image views, and then stick the image views inside of the scroll view. But isn't that a lot of complicated layering? When I can do the same thing programmatically, I can just create the image view and put the image view inside, which is what I've done. So all of these objects, believe it or not, that we're creating out here, by dragging and dropping, we can do programmatically by just creating that object. We'll see it with a web view, actually. Well, we might see it. I haven't decided if I'm going to show you that one yet. Because that one's a little bit more complicated than just dragging a web view and sticking it in there, but it's really the same thing. Okay. Stop me if I've lost anybody, because this is, I'm trying to go slow, but I have a tendency to speed up at times. So scroll view, add subview to the image view. Yeah, as soon as I say that, I got hands coming up. Oh, you might want to make sure that you have the opening and closing brackets correct. And you put this in the .m file.
Yes.
And you have an error message. What's the error message tell you?
It says no visible at interface for view controller. Replace the selector layout.
Ah, did you call this, what did you call this UI scroll view? Did you call it my scroll, spelled like that? And you synthesized it?
Yes.
Let me take a quick look.
Layouts. Layout scroll image.
Yeah, I think you have defined it.
Oh, I haven't defined it. Well, there's more code. Let's hold on to that error for a few minutes. I don't know why mine's not showing it. Did I define it earlier?
No, yeah.
Okay, not quite sure. Mine should be showing that error as well because we haven't defined that yet. We haven't cut and pasted the other code and stuck it in, so we have pieces of this missing. Why mine's not showing that?
Actually, yours is showing still showing.
Oh yeah, it's
There is a
right
red
at the
mark.
top.
Okay. All right. Well, there's no mark in here though, which let's see if the error message doesn't go away after we follow a couple more steps. Because we are returning a layout scroll images, but we don't have anything defined yet for that. So let's go back to the code here. This was the code that we put in for view did load. The other method here, we can just layout scroll images is what we need to put in actually. Let's cut and paste and stick this one above view did load. Just so we don't have any problems with function prototypes not needed. So this method does not previously exist. I've highlighted it, I've copied it. I'm going to stick it above the view did load method, which is right here. I believe there's another constant I have to put in here, but let's see what happens. There is, right here. Is that right? So I have an undeclared variable, current X lock. This is the error message that was on before because we didn't, let me make sure. There is an error in this code actually. It is on this variable here. So up here on the top, I'm going to say that this one here is a float, I believe. Let me just make sure. Scroll view with width. Yep, it's the same here. So up here on the top, let's add another variable. After you've cut the layout scroll images in here, which layout scroll images is returning from self, which is why this is this doesn't exist because this is running this method and this method doesn't exist yet. Which is why I pasted this method above this one so that this one would be familiar with it. Okay. Correct. Perfect. Perfect. I don't know why mine wasn't showing an error, but okay. So now we have to add this. This particular example has a bug in it. Well, it's not really a bug. It's an undeclared. It's a comment.
Declared that variable is the comment.
There's the bug right there. It's missing a line return. I was going to declare it again, but there's a line return that needs to be put in after the comments. Actually, believe it or not, in the old days, you didn't actually have to declare it. You just use it, and it would work. Which is why this example never caused me problems before. But when he actually recently used it, I noticed that, and actually I didn't even see it in the comment. In fact, I just added it out here because it wasn't declared. So the other point is you can actually take this out of here if you want to. You can cut it out. Don't do this, but you can just do it like here if you wanted to as well. And you see it kind of works the same way. Some people like to put the data outside of the method call. Some people like to put it inside the method call. These are constants, so it makes sense to put it out there. This is basically being used inside of this method as part of the variables being used in the method. So I put it in the method because it's more properly, placed there. But the scope of these variables that we're using on here goes inside of everything, which is nice. So, all your messages go away. Very good. All right. So what did we just paste in here? Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can go over this code a little bit here. We put in here this method, and the method was called layout scroll messages, and the method was being called by self. So if we just create a method and we want to call the method, this is the syntax that we're using. So we know we're putting opening and closing brackets in because that's what we're calling methods in Objective-C. And self is me. We just go self space the name of the method, and this calls the method for us. And the method that we're calling is right up here. And the method up here is kind of basic. It's the layout scroll images. So what are we doing? We're creating the subviews. So we have a UI image view is nil. So we created this reference to this object, but we haven't created any objects yet. So we're just going to set it to nil. So just in case we use it without assigning it anything, we won't get an error message. Believe it or not, it's actually automatically set to nil. So we don't have to do that anymore either. And now we're using this NS array. So we're creating an array. And again, going back to the object concept, arrays are actually growable. Well, some arrays are actually growable. They're dynamic, especially if they're created in Objective-C. Traditional style arrays aren't. This is an array object because it's NS array. We also have arrays that we can use, just regular old arrays. You're familiar with C. This is an NS array subviews that's going to be initialized. It's equal to my scroll, which is going to be calling subviews to my scroll is the message that we're sending to the object my scroll, which is we're going to be initializing the subviews of the array to the subviews. And the array subviews can come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, just the same ways arrays are used in non-objects, Objective-C. So reposition all of the image subviews in a horizontal serial fashion. To do that, we're going to take a look at here, and this is the little pointer, current location to 0, and then another for loop. So here's another way of doing the for loop. for view and subview, which is not C. It's not a dialect of C or C++, it's a dialect of Objective-C. And it's a different way of doing it. So if you've never seen that before, know that that's available in Objective-C, but not in C. So actually not in Java either, but it's using a for view and a subview. So each one of the views and the subviews. If the view is a kind of class, well, if it's a kind of object UI image class, and the view.tag is larger than 0, which means it starts with 1 or so. C rectangle frame is equal to view.frame. Create a new frame. Put the frame the origin of the frame is going to be at the point 0, which is going to line the image up in the frame at the 0, 0 coordinate, which is the upper left-hand corner of the screen. So it's going to put the images in lined up, because you know you can put these images in. If the image is smaller than the view, and you put the image in, how do you know if it's going to be centered? If it's going to be on the top, it's going to be on the bottom, the left, or right. So that's where you're setting the origin to 0, upper left-hand corner of the screen. And then the view frame is going to be the frame, and then we're setting the scroll. Well, this is the width of the object that we set, the constant variable up here to 600. So I might have to change it actually on mine. And then set the context size so that it can be scrollable, and this is how we're going to do it here on my scroll, which is my scroll view out here. Set context size to LCG size. Make it out of a combination of the number of images with the width of each image. So we're setting the width and the height of each one of the images. We're setting the frame size that we're putting it in. We're putting them all in as subviews inside of the main view. And we're setting the horizontal scroll. So we can go left to right. We can set a vertical scroll as well through the scroll view. That behavior is just a matter of setting the methods for us. So underneath here on the other call we have is the bounds, which is going to be set to the height. Yes?
So you have 5 UI image views?
Yeah, we're going to put them in. We haven't put the images in yet. It's making an attempt to explain the code to people who don't know Objective-C. Yes?
Yeah, like here, we are calling a method myScrollSubviews.
This is a method. Okay.
Here,
This is a method call. We're sending the message bounds to the object, to the receiver of the method, which is myScroll. So it's kind of like in C++, it's kind of like going like this. It's kind of like going myScroll.bounds. Actually, set bounds. And then putting in here the size, 5. If I was writing this in C++, it would look like that. But it's different because of the object. The message gets sent to the object, and then we're using the dot size because we're using the properties on the object, because we property synthesized it. So we have set, bound, get, bound, and we have all of the information that's associated with it, but we're not using the set and get terminology, we're just using the name of the variable, or the, name of the property that we're setting.
like above where we are calling the, where we are initializing the array.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
there.
yes.
Yeah, so here the method is returning an array
Mm-hmm.
which we are
Of subviews.
Okay, so how do we know that which method is doing what? The subviews method is a method defined so that we can see that it's written array.
It's adding them in it's adding them in sequentially from 0 to the length, depending upon the number of views that are in a subview. If the view is a member of the subview here, and if it's a class of the UI class and the tag is larger than 0, then we're just adding frames in. We're not actually populating it out index by index value. So we're not going to be able to see, as an example, view, with index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
These subviews and all these methods are standard methods. So
Mm-hmm,
we methods.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where the confusion is coming into, because you probably have never seen what's a subview? Well, it could be get subview, set subview. In this particular case, it's set subview. It's a property. Subview is a property of view, UI image view, or UI view, excuse me, scroll view. It's actually subview is a property of all the views. You can subview anything. What it is just adding items to the view, and you're nesting it sort of in a hierarchy. Just the same way as I took that image view out of the library and stuffed it on the canvas, I could stuff a bunch of them graphically into the view, or I could do it this way. Yeah?
I have declared that my scroll synthesize first thing dot,
Uh-huh.
but still it's giving me an error. Property implementation must have its declaration and interface.
Ah, did you do the synthesize in the .m file
Yeah.
and the property in the .h file, and does it match?
For her, so like it's all these ScrollView and all, they are not inside a view. They are directly placed over here. There is no view in her system. It's not showing.
Oh, okay, let me just take 2 seconds. Let me take a look at your screen real quick here.
Synthesize, here's
Folder is having just two files, Xcode and .m.
Oh, what happened to your project? What version of Xcode is this? Xcode, bounce. Oh, no, you have the current. What happened to your project? Your project is missing. I don't see the .m. I don't see the .h file in there. I would recreate the project.
When you recreate the project, you need the app delegate, you need the view controller.h and view controller.m in there. Is it possible that you deleted them? Is it a question or just stretch or pulling your hair out now? I'm gonna start pulling my hair out too.
No.
Right. Yeah?
The CG float, why do they have different libraries like CG?
CG float is from computer graphics float, which is a different kind of float than a regular float. You could have just used a float. You didn't have to use CG float. You could have it's just a float number.
Yeah. Earlier you were using float in just float.
Yeah. It's just a float value. It's the data type. And the net variable name is this one here. It's just being fancy. You don't have to use that. You just wanted to float because you want. Actually, in this particular case, we're setting them to integers, so you could take it out and make it an integer if you want to. So, all right. If I run the project, what's going to happen? Nothing, because I don't have any images in there. I didn't put the images in. All right. So actually, after you cut and paste and put everything, you're all done except for those images. So now you have to copy image 1, image 2, image 3 inside. And there's a little note on the bottom here. It's actually not going to give me an error message, is it? No, it's just not going to show me anything. But you see, this is the scroll view, by the way. It doesn't have anything loaded in. But you see on the bottom, I'm actually moving my scroll. And if you look you can't see it on my screen, but if you look real closely, here, actually, I have it. You can see it on my screen now. See that little line on the bottom? It's at the end of my scroll, but my end of my scroll is not going to the end of my screen. I can see it on my screen where there's a box. The scroll view is not taking up the entire box, but I see the background set to black, or it's transparent actually. And I see the black box of the scroll view set to black, but there's no images. It's black, but there's no images loaded in here. So if I set the color to red as an example, I know it's working. So I don't really have to do this, but if I come back up here and set the background to another color, I can see the background set on black just in case the pictures aren't the same size. It's just consistent between them. So let's load some pictures into here so we can see what it looks like. We're going to stick them in the project folder, and we're going to do something that's kind of interesting. I actually have some pictures that I took from a project, not this one. Let me show you where these pictures are, by the way. Just in case you want to do these pictures. You don't have to. Take your own pictures. If I go back up to this workshop folder here, it's in the digital arts. Click on the digital arts one here. So here's the URL I'm looking at right now. So bhacker.com workshops DAA PPS for Digital Arts Apps. And this is what I did at the beginning. If you click on the finished ScrollView project, save it to your desktop. In there's some pictures. Actually, there's a finished ScrollView project, so you can look at it if you want. I'm going to show you how to create it though. So I'm going to open up the folder where I have this, and hopefully I can find where I saved it locally. Here it is. In here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're called img1.jpg, img2.jpg. So this is how I'm going to get them into the project. I'm going to take, well, I can make it just a little bit smaller. Let me size this guy a little bit. Move this guy down here. I'll move him over here. Take the picture and drag it in and let go. And then I always copy the item in here. It's just easier. Then I have the original. You can move the item. If I don't copy it, it's going to link it to the location where I stored my images. And this is not in the same project folder. And then when you delete that project folder off your desktop, you're going to go, what happened to my images? When you copy it, it actually puts them in there. I'll show you in a second here. So now that I have image 1 in here, if I come back over here and I look at, because I saved it on my desktop, I see that I have image 1 in here, but I only have 1 of them in here. I need to put 5 of them because I said I'm going to use 5 of them, so I'm going to scroll in 5 of them. So I'm going to drag and drop in here. But here's another one. There's a 2. There's a 3. Here's a 4. And notice it's really easy to put them out here, and this is going to be in a different folder. As an example here, let me copy this one out here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I put it out here, I've now stuck it out here, which is in the main project folder. So if I come back over here and I click on ScrollView, I see this one lonely image out here. And if I drag it over here, I'm going to get an error message because the project's not configured properly. It's going to say, hey, where'd that image go? So instead of doing it out there, I'm going to do it in here. I'm going to drag it and put it over here. Now it's all together. Now when I run it, it should automatically pick up those images for me and stick them in there. So let's see what happens. Now the 600 by 600 was adjusted for these images, and these images fit in there. Your images might need a slightly different adjustment to them. But now I see I can scroll, and they're back to back. So they're put in their frames, and the frames are loaded as subviews into the UI image view. And they're loaded back to back. So they're loading in like this. This is actually from the DA workshop, which is where these pictures came from. Now I set the number to 5. You can set it to 100, to 20. You can set it dynamically. You can go through the library as an example, which is another kind of trick you can do. Pull images out of the library that's on the phone, populate them into an image view, and just go through each one of them, which is kind of a trivial. It's not as complicated actually as this, so it doesn't really show you that much. But you can kind of see that these pictures here are kind of meant to be in this size. Your pictures might look distorted, depending upon the size of your picture. And these are all the same size pictures, by the way. Same size images. Oh, actually I shouldn't say that. They're not. They're not the same size images. If I click on the images here, I can see them in the, and I can say, well, that's the same image. And one of them, actually, if I look at them out here, they are the same size. Okay, so I did resize them. So one of them originally wasn't. It was more horizontal than it was vertical. So let me show you something else, because now maybe you have this project, so you have some other images that might work for you. If I go and I load this up into the emulator, I'm going to see that I have 2 options. Actually, I have 3. I have a splash screen too. I have a couple of properties that I can set for the app. I shouldn't have closed it. I thought I ran it. Oh, here it is. It's not scrolling for you? How many images did you stick in? That's the problem. Then there's probably something wrong with the image numbering, the labeling of the images, if it's not finding them all. I'll look at it in a few minutes. If I click on OK here, and I get back, I see, oh, now it says icon. Well, this is a different one. I don't look at that one yet. Oops. What was this one called? ScrollView. You see it's kind of blank looking icon. Doesn't look so good. All right. So let me show you how to fix that. This will show up on your real phone too as well. Oh, and for those people who were not in the Objective-C class, and now you're the one who gave me the device ID, aren't you? Okay. I tried to set you up, and then I noticed that my account expired. So just the same way as yours expires after 1 year, mine expired after 1 year. So what I've been telling everyone is next week, bring your iPhone device, bring your iOS. I can set you up via email probably in another day. It takes about 3 or 4 days for the account to be reactivated. They have to do a check, make sure the IT is still alive, and I'm still alive, and I'm still authorized to do this, and yada yada. What we get is a 1-year developer account. It's called a student developer account. So if you don't want to spend $99 to open up your own account, what you're going to want to do is hopefully, bring your device, bring your computer. Next week, I believe I might wait till after class. I'm not sure. We'll set everybody up who's got there. We'll just do it all in one big batch together, so we can get everyone's phone to work. Because what you want to do eventually is plug your phone into your computer, and instead of running it on here, you're running it on the device. It installs it on the device, and you can play around with it and show it to your friends and stuff. You could do that for free for up to 1 year with the developer account. Alright, so let me show you how to get an icon on here. It's actually not as hard as you might think. What we're going to do then is come back up and click on the main project. And when you click on the main project, you see the build settings and the things that show up in the middle. So I'm kind of going to stretch the window out a little bit so I can see it a little bit clearer. And just the same way as I dragged and dropped these images in, I'm going to drag and drop an icon for the program. So down here, in here, I've got iPad, I got the i2 logo, the Retina one, and I've got the, looks like a regular iPad icon. I should have called that iPhone. So what we see then is all of the specs. So as an example here, I can change the device if I wanted to on the project type. So this device is going to be iPhone. That's how I said it. I can change the deployment target platform on here, the build, the main storyboard file. I can bring in another file, storyboard file, and merge it in here. Supported interface orientations, I can set those. Status, and down on the bottom, app icons. So here's what you do actually. You take the icon and you drag it into the box. And you should see a plus, a little plus. Same thing, I forgot to show you, but same thing as the plus symbol that you saw with those images, and you let go. If it doesn't come back with an error, you're in good shape. And then here, this one here is for Retina. So I put that one in there, and it works just fine. If I wanted to, for example, let's say, let me just pull a night. Let me just show you how to fix the icons actually. You're going to Google here, and you're going to say, let's see, icons. Free icon.
PNG file?
JPEG, PNG, or I actually have the list for you. TIFF, JPEG, GIF, PNG, ICO, COR, or XBR. Same thing, these are the bottom of that tutorial. Shows you all of the supported image files for icons, but let me show you something else though with the icon. You have to get the right size.
It is not accepting.
Yeah.
JPEG.
Not accepting JPEG? Then they changed it to just PNG. Hold on 1 second, let me just find a PNG file and I'll show you what happens. I don't know, let's just go here, mail. This is what I want. So I'm just going to take this random image I saw here, email, I'm going to save it to the desktop, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to use this as my icon. Where'd it go? Did I just save it? Here it is up on the top. What is it though? Okay, let me just save the image. Oh, now we're thinking. Hold on 1 second. Save the link instead of saving the image. So I'm going to actually try to save an image here. However, I've got a little hosed. Let me go back here and try it this way. Hold on 1 second.
So the image should be of a standard size.
I'm going to show you in a few minutes how to resize the image as soon as I get an image that I can do this with. Can I save it? Okay, let's just try that one out, but let me try a PNG just in case.
Size is also,
I'm sorry?
size is also important.
Size is very important. I'm getting there. 1 second. PNG, test.png, here we go. I don't know, watch this. Just give me a few minutes here. There's a method. All right, so here's my test.png file. And you're going to get this error message when you go like this. Image invalid. But read the message. It must be 57 by 57 pixels in size. So here's what you do. You bring it, everyone's got a MacBook because you're sitting here and doing this, right? You double click on it, brings it up in preview. You go over to tools and you go to adjust size. And you make the size 57 by 57. What's that, centimeters? Pixels, 57. This was 300, that's too big. 57 by 57. Resolution 72 is good. Scale proportionally. Okay. See how much smaller it is now. So now I take and I drag it in. And it likes it. Very, very picky. And if I take the same image and I put it over here where it says Retina display, it's going to say, no, I'm sorry, it has to be 114 by 114. Are you serious? 114 by 114? Alright, so then I double click on it and I come up here to tools and I adjust the size. Now I'm going to make it bigger. This is not going to look so good. Ooh, it's going to look fuzzy, actually. Now if I drag it in 114, replace the file? Yes, replace it. Oops. Oh, you know what? Because I saved it. I saved it again. So you have to save 2 copies of it. One 57 by 57, the other one 114 by 114. Drag and drop it in there. So here, if I rename this guy, here, we'll get info. Let's just rename. He's going to look terrible now. Let me call this one test 2.
So it's better to keep a folder inside the project. Then if you are going to delete that over the desktop, it will delete it.
Correct. So let me show you something though real quick here. Put this in here. It's common to see, oops, let me put this guy in here. Here we go. It's common to see the icons out here. So, and you're going to see this one here. This is the 2 icons that we had in here. And if I open up, here's that JPEG file. Actually, I can put that guy in there too. It should work. If I come out to the project folder, which I have out here, I should see these 2 icons. This guy was a mistake because I moved him. But I should see the 2 icons out here at the main project. And then I see my project folder, and then I see my subfolder. And I see my icons out here. Very common to see the main program icons, the splash screen icons, everything you're going to use out in the main, and then in the subfolder you see all the icons for the folder. Some people even go a little bit step further and create an images subfolder. Doesn't really matter where you stick them, because you're going to load them into properties. As an example, I can reuse that. So I can come back in here, let's say for example, and go back to, where did ImageView go? There it is. Did I put the image view in here? I didn't. So I'm going to make my scroll view a little bit smaller. But I'm setting my background color, so this may not actually work. Here, actually, you know what? Did you have a question, or are you just stretching?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I have a question. You might have mentioned this earlier, but how did you adjust the size of the images? My images are all different sizes. How did you make
I did it the same way with preview.
Okay, so it's all done before.
Yeah. I made sure that those images were all the same size so they would show up the same way. And it was all a matter, and I set them to 600 by 600 pixels, I believe, or something of that nature.
Okay.
So it's being scaled. So you can use preview to rescale. The only problem is you can go down smaller, no problem. When you go up bigger, you have resolution issues. It doesn't look as good. So most pictures are bigger and you're going smaller with them. You can also preview, you may also, here, this is another side comment, but interesting phenomena. You can go like this. So let's say, for example, I have this picture and I want to make it really small, but I just want this guy here. I can do this. as an example. Just get this guy right here, and then go edit, copy, right? Close this guy down completely. Oops, go back to preview. And go new from clipboard. Yes? It doesn't really matter. This program was originally created for 3. Oh. But what I'm using is iOS 6, I believe, but let me just check real quick. I hadn't actually noticed. 6.0, 6.0, yeah. 6. The project will work, however, with previous versions of the iOS. Do you know how to get the previous versions and the current version? Have you got into Preferences from Xcode, and then go into Downloads, and then you'll see 5.0 and 5.1? You know, you're only going to get 6.0 installed by default. If you change the project type, so my project type, if I clicked on this project up here, I see I'm on 6.0. If you want to see what it looks like on a 5.1 device, you change the project type to 5.1. Are you the one that's working on a IBM ThinkPad? Not going to work on your computer. Must have a MacBook. Yes. Remotely connected?
No, other
Using
the other friend who has Apple laptop
Oh, go into the Apple Store and download Xcode then. It's available right from the Apple Store. Dreamweaver. I'm going to put this back on 6.0. You can change your project type and then change the emulators. This is going to show me, I have the deployment target set for 6, so I'm going to have the 6 simulation. Over here, what I've installed is the 5.0 and the 5.1 in my preferences window, which means I can backward compatible to these guys here. You can actually install by searching through, you can actually install the previous iOSs as well, but most people aren't going to do it because those iPhones are really old. People aren't going to work with it. They're just going to work with the current one. If you're working with the current one, you're also backward compatible to the previous ones. It's not like Android when you're stuck on one release and you have to specify the range. So most people will develop for the latest and greatest, the current, and then it's backward compatible. All the apps will most likely be. Whether or not it's compatible with iPad is going to be a different story, depending upon what you're doing with it. Yeah?
So if you already developed application, then how do you convert to retina display?
Then on your project, on your display window, then you can change the project property of the window to the Retina 3.5 full screen to support the Retina display. And then on your project properties, you're going to add in the Retina icon and the things, and then you're going to automatically get the Retina support for you. It's automatic.
It works for both devices. In that case.
Correct. If it's not a Retina device, it will use the non-Retina display icon, and it'll use the non-Retina display, which is why this is why I play around with this on the side. So if I go over here and I click on the XIB file, right, and I change this, I leave it on the full Retina display, and I load it on a 5.0 device, the bottom part of it's cut off. The screen is different. So this screen here is shorter. Whoops, that's the full, I'm sorry. I go back to the 3.5. It's still Retina, it's still supporting the Retina, but it's a shorter screen. They made the screen bigger on the newer ones. So I can decide whether I want a 3.5 or a 4 size. Matters because if I'm cramming a bunch of stuff on there and it's not auto sizing, half my images might be cut off if I load it on it. It's going to auto resize on the big screen, and it's going to hopefully fit on the little one. Experiment with the emulators.
Yeah.
Actually, make a. You don't have that. Somebody has a touch. take a small little, one of the previous 4th generation touches, which has a small screen, put a full pour on there, and you'll see you'll have to scroll it up, scroll it down. It won't fit on the screen the way it's supposed to, unless you have everything set to auto resize. See, this is going to auto.
Do we have to get the images redesigned for the retina?
No. The only difference is in terms of the image quality is if you want your startup icon to be a nice display, you have the ability to give it a higher resolution.
Like you will have images as part of the applications, right?
Ah, the images will look better on a Retina display. The same image support exists, however, between the two. If I wanted to load an image in, let's say for example I'm here and I want to take this guy here and I want to put I think I was adding an image view to this. If I put an image view in here, I'll just put them right here. And I come up here and I select an image. And I go, well, which kind of these images do I have here? I'm going to put in this Retina one. I'm going to resize it hopefully to make it look good. But it's going to look hopefully better on a Retina display than it will on a non-Retina display. It's going to auto-adjust the resolution. But unfortunately, this image here that's stuck in here is going to be overwritten because I'm going to populate this. So if I run this right now, actually that image should go
So
away.
if you build it for Retina display, it should work for the.
It's backward compatible. If you want to test it on the previous emulators, then you load the support for the 5.0. You change your backward, you downgrade the app to a target platform of 5 or 5.1. You load it on the previous emulator, and you see what it looks like. However, this is not 100% guarantee. See, the image is no longer there. But look at this. I have a scroll upward, and I have that image in the background, which is that Retina icon that I stuck on. This is not a Retina display, by the way, that I stuck on there. So you can see I can kind of do some funny stuff with it. But and what did I do there? What is I embedded this image here? The image is inside. What I really wanted to do is pull the image out of there, but now I have it on top. So good questions, by the way. So in the properties here, we also have this thing called a launch image. I call it a splash screen. It's really a launch image. What is that? When you load the app up initially, this image shows for a couple of minutes. And then on the view did load, you can set how long it sits there for. I have a project. And the project here, I'll just show you the project actually. That demonstrates this and is also, I believe, in the Digital Arts app section. It's called Splash Screen. Ah, here it is. Use a splash screen. If you download this one here, it says Splash Screen. It's the one down here. It's number 16. I call it a design template. It's a basic project with a splash screen in it to show you how to do that. If I save the project to the desktop, and for those of you who have missed some of the previous classes, I've saved the project to the desktop. Oops, I was going to resize that, but we'll just leave it alone. Now here it is up here. I double click on it from the desktop. It unzips it for me. I open up the file. Now I'm going to have this as a splash screen. I double click on the project file to open it up. I click here on the project itself, and you'll see I have the information in the middle here. If I scroll down to the bottom, you can see I've dragged in a splash screen. It's called a launch image. And you see that, the answer to your question here, the launch image is actually two sizes, one for the 3.4.0, one for the 3.5, because there's different size. This project, oops, and we have one for the Retina here too, it looks like. I believe that this project is using a 4-point screen. But we have another one in here too. Let's get rid of the side piece. Ah, there we go. So I have the original, I have the 3-point, this project is made for 5.1 simulator. If you load this project in and this is blank up here, that means you have to install the simulator for it. So here's the other thing too, you load up an old project, a 4.0 project. And it's a 4-point project. So then you go over here and this is blank. You can optionally choose, in fact I can probably choose here, run it on 6.0 simulator. where I can run it on a 5.1. If I have it in here and it recognizes, I go to Preference, I go to Downloads, I should see the 4 and the 3 in here. It automatically picks it up that you need support for that because your project type is that. And then you press on Install and install it. Oh, I can update my command tools. I'm not going to do that right now. But if I reload this program, you're going to see what happens with this program, actually. This program is going to start back up. This is a 5.1 simulator. Oh, there's that lovely splash screen. I don't know what it's doing. It goes away. And it shows you all of the specs. This is another reason why I like this project. It's showing you for the app icon specs, for the app launch image specs. These are the sizes you want. And as the making of this sample app, the sample app was made when 5.0 existed, before 6.0 existed. So it doesn't support the Retina, the newer screens, so it doesn't have the information on here for the newer screens. However, you see, this is actually another demonstration as well to show you. You see, this is an old app. This app was made for a 5.1 or something simulator, and it still works. Yeah.
Could you just give a little bit of advice on if I want to support the whole range of mobile devices, Apple mobile devices, do I have to produce 6 different programs?
No, just one.
So there's a way to say.
Here's the interesting thing. It's supposed to be backward compatible. So if you develop for 6, should work on 5, should work on 4 to a certain point. There's new features in 6 that weren't supported by the previous devices. So when you launch it and you put it into the App Store, you can say what it's good for. So when somebody tries to install it, you can optionally save it and upload different versions of it, or use one and come back. So if you look at the project properties here on the info, this one here is basically, I'm versionizing it and then I'm deploying it here, and I'm deploying it on different platforms. I can go all the way down to 4.3 at this point. If I have something that's not supported on a 6, then I can go back down to a 4. If you're installing an app from the App Store on your phone and you have a 6, it'll take a 4, it'll take a 5, it'll take a 6. It always goes backwards, no problem. It's going forwards, which is the problem.
So what I'm thinking of is my screen layout's going to be a bit different on an iPad than on a phone. How do I say, okay, here's 2 different layouts, and use the right one for, how do I say that?
That's the universal project type. So universal gives us a different iPad screen. Here, I'm going to shut this first. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to start up a new project here so you can sort of see. I don't know if I did this for you or not. Here, actually, let me just shut these down real quick here. I don't need any of this stuff. If I open up Xcode and I create a new project, and I'm just going to create a new project here, test or something. Oops, I don't want that. Back. I'm going to change the device to universal. This is how you're going to support multiple devices. I'm going to put it on universal. I'm going to call this one test. And that looks good to me. I'm going to use story. I'm just going to use single views at this point. Create. Now I'm going to have 2 XIB files in here. I'm going to have one for iPhone and one for iPad. The iPhone supports all of the iPhone. The iPad supports iPad and iPad mini automatically. It's going to readjust for the size of the screen. But you can load an iPhone app on an iPad. That works. You get a small little screen and you have to press the ×2 to make it bigger. So a lot of people choose just to make it, especially if it's an old app. A lot of the apps that are in the App Store were built back with 4-point something or other iOS. It's backward compatible. You can run it. The only problem is sometimes you can't take a 6.0 iOS app and run it on an old device. So people like to save, if it's working, don't fix it, don't break it. If it's working on 4.0 and you're not using any of the new features, leave it alone, and it'll work because 6.0 is backward compatible. But if you write it in 6 and someone tries to install it on a 5 or a 4, and that feature doesn't exist, or the library doesn't, that function doesn't exist, it's not going to work. So that's why a lot of people just use older iOS versions. But if you really want it to be the state of the art, then you build it for the newest one and you expect everyone to update, because everyone is supposed to be updating. So older devices load the iOS's, like you can load iOS 6 on a very old, first generation everything. Well, actually, to a certain point. There's a one point where Apple breaks it off and says the device can't load it anymore, and they try to phase it out, and then usually at that point they're buying the devices back. But for the most part, if you have a first generation anything, you can load the latest and greatest. You just hook it up to iTunes and update it. So you can update your iOS version. You want to theoretically be working with the highest level of iOS, they say. You know, better improvement. But in here, if I run the simulator, then I have the iPhone simulator and I have the iPad simulator. And they're going to give me, depending upon, you know, the screen layout, it's going to look significantly different. Here's the iPad. You can barely see it in this window here. It's kind of big. And if I drag and drop and stick stuff on here, and I drag and drop and stick stuff on here, I can drag and drop to the same, watch this here. I'll just put an image view out here. We know how to use image views, right? Image view, if I spell it right. So I'm just going to stick an image view out here. I'm going to load an image into the file. Here, how about this? How about this guy right here? I cut and pasted him, and then I'm going to save it. So if I try to close the window, it's going to ask me to save it. I'm going to call it a test. PNG. Where'd he go? Here he is. I'm going to drag the test in here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to come over here and load the test in here. Where's my test? Where's my test PNG? Test PNG. And then I'm going to come over here to the iPad. Actually, let me make this a little bit better. He's stretched funny. Let me drag him out. Yeah, he looks a little bit better now. Let's stick him in here. There we go. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to stick an image view out here. Ooh, it's a big one. And let me put this guy, I like this images guy here. Put him in here. Copy him in here. That's the other thing too. So it doesn't copy immediately. I mean, it copies immediately, but it doesn't load it into the menu immediately. So I'm going to go back over here to the iPad. Now he's in the menu. Images. So now if I load, I have two separate images loaded in here, one for the iPad, one for the iPhone. So if I run it on a iPad simulator, I'm gonna get this iPad that shows up. I've been showing you iPhones, but here's an iPad that's going to show up. Hopefully. The desktop is looking a little cluttered. But I know at the end of the night I can just throw all this stuff away. Is it loading up? It's loading up. It's just taking a little bit longer. Here's when we get this iPad that shows up. Here it is. Kind of ugly looking picture I just put on there. But the whole project is going to look different if I load this on an iPhone. This is what it looks like on an iPad. I'm going to close the simulator because my memory is... If I now run it on the iPhone, I'm going to see that other picture, the guy showing up on the screen. He's going to look different. You can hardly tell it's the same app. It is the same app, it just looks different. It's the layout is completely different. However, I can take the image and wire it to the same view controller. Because I can do this. Watch this. So, where'd my image go? Well, there's supposed to be an image in there. Hopefully you get the point. So, you know, I saw it go away. I think I accidentally deleted it. Yeah, what did I do? Just stick it back in here. I thought I left it in here.
Is there now a third Xcode file for the iPad mini?
No. They only made two. One for iPad. I suspect in the future we're going to have a third one. Because the iPad mini is kind of small. I have one of the minis. It's smaller than the big one. But here's the trick. So if I click on this little editor icon, And I got this guy up. I can control drag him here. Oops, not that way. Stay in there. As soon as I fix him here, hold on one second, let me just fix him. He's a little too big for the picture. No, now my mouse isn't working. Okay. Let's see. If I can control drag him in, call him the picture. And then I got this guy over here, control drag him in, and I call him another picture. We got two separate pictures. Same view controller, same program, but two separate interfaces. So we have to write code twice for changing images? Well, no, we're just changing the UI, so we can still, if we had that, let's say for example, we were going to create that ScrollView program, we drag two ScrollViews over to both of them. We update both of them, one right after the other one. Just remember, if you have two different UIs and only one of them is going to show, you got to do the same to both of them. What they should have done, and maybe this will be I hear this is actually a future implementation, is instead of having two of these guys who are separate, have one that auto adjusts and you make settings for one and the other, which makes more sense. Because now you have to, now I actually have two images in here. I do have two images, and I have two separate interfaces. It's not that big of a deal because I can still make instances of objects, and I can still have the basic functionality. I'm just writing it out to separate interfaces. So if I had a UI, if I was writing Hello World like we did the first time around, I can have two different labels and I can just change this label and then change that label. So I'm really running two separate programs all in one. But only one of them is being supported. So when I deploy it for both. So if you have an iPhone, it runs. If you have an iPad, it runs. But it's really the same program with two separate interfaces. Yes?
So, suppose we are making an app to run on both iPhone and iPad.
Here it is.
So we have the same front end.
Here it is. No, different front end. This one here has an iPhone XIB file. You can make it the same. You can run it just the same way as you go to the store and you can look up in the Apple Store iPhone or iPad apps. You can load an iPhone app on your iPad. I don't believe you can go the opposite direction. I don't think you can load an iPad app on your iPhone. I don't believe it's supported, but don't quote me on that. But you can actually do one or the other on an iPad. On what I'm saying, in this particular program that you're looking at right here, I have two separate interfaces. So the same application can be installed on both devices, supported on both devices. But if you run it on an iPad, it's going to look like that. If you run it on an iPhone, it's going to have this guy on it. I think this guy's the iPhone. And this big old fish thing or bird thing is the iPad.
So my question was, I want the app should look same on iPad as well as on iPhone.
Then you have two separate interfaces that look the same, but one of them has bigger images or sized differently. Or you write one iPhone and you load it on both, which is what a lot of people do. They only write it for one device, but you can load it on the iPad. So you create it for the iPhone, and how many people have an iPad? How many iPhone apps do you load on it? A lot of them. Yeah?
So in case of universal app where we are selecting it as a universal app, still we'll have the two XIB files and we have to populate it separately.
Correct.
Yes.
Two separate interfaces.
Okay.
It's universal because you're writing two in one. But you still have two separate interfaces for it. But you're wiring it all to the same view controller.
So the .m file will be the same for both.
Yep, here it is here. Excuse me, we have viewcontroller.m and viewcontroller.h. This is why I wanted to create the project for you. The same project as before. The only difference is I have two now. I have two of these XIB files instead of one. And you have twice as much work if you want to support both of them, because you have to create two properties for the images and two properties for buttons. Everything's duplicated. But if you put it all at the top of the code, like what I'm doing here, and then you go in here and you say For example, this is what I've done actually, and it works quite well. I can go like this and say iPad interface. I might have it backwards. iPhone interface. And then group all of my items together. And then I know which properties belong and which components belong to which one of the interfaces. And then label them like iPhone pick, iPad pick, or A pick, B pick. And then you have A's are all on the phone and B's are all on the iPad, if you're going to do it that way. Or better yet, well, don't do it. I was going to say, you can create a story. The storyboard concept works the same way. You have a storyboard for the iPhone, you have a storyboard. Next week we're actually going to be using the storyboard, by the way. Today is the last of the single views. Or not the last of it, but, you know, of the concept. Anyway, I think we've answered a lot of good questions, which is good, so keep the questions coming, because that's how I know when there's confusion. Yes?
When you deploy this application,
Yes?
based on the device it picks the appropriate UI or?
It's all controlled by the Apple Store. Whatever you're downloading, if it's listed under the iPhone, you can list it in both spots actually, and then if you deploy it, install it as an iPhone app, you'll get the iPhone interface. Install it as an iPad app, you get the iPad interface.
Yeah. So we need not have to do any coding to identify the device. So,
No not like the Android. You don't have to identify what device it's on or do anything for it, or support or even specify a range of devices. Instead, you write the code just like any other app. But when you run the app on an iPhone, it looks like this. And you run it on an iPad, it looks like that. Hopefully your UI is not so complicated. What a lot of people will do is just have two separate apps. One for the iPhone, one for the iPad. And then hopefully have the same features, but it really is just not the same app. This is just a matter of taking the same app and putting two different interfaces in it and wiring it up and just having two programs in one. You could very easily there's a lot of projects that started before the iPad came around.
Because most people won't play, won't use the app on both devices at the same time, right?
No. You're not going to know what it looks like. Actually, it's kind of interesting. If you take the same app, there's only a couple of them out there right now, and you install it for both. You see there's slight differences between them. Like somebody cut short something, or on one and
no,
then.
it is really required on the enterprise level. But, your UI will be different, like your navigation. Like suppose if you have iPhone, yes, your UI is different.
Well, most people.
I'm using because you have enterprise application, you use both on the phone as well as iPad or any tablet.
Yeah.
So in that case, your UI has to be designed to work on both.
And also, if you're taking advantage of the features of the devices too, you might want to consider.
Yeah, in Android concept, you define all these fragments, all the fragments, and then you define that navigation.
Yep. Have we had enough of the scroll view? Let's see WebView. Oh yeah.
Could you just show us how you put the icons on, and then that showed up in the simulator?
I'm sorry. What was the how you?
You dropped a couple of icons.
Oh, on the original splash screen. On the scroll view.
Yeah.
Okay,
on
good.
one of the projects, and then.
Oh, the one I just built a few minutes ago was the one that supported both the iPhone and the iPad. Is that the one you're talking about?
Just show me on any project, really.
Well, on this project here, I've put in, this is the scroll view that I created. I dragged and dropped them in here. Oh, how to get them on the image.
How to get them to show up when the app's not running and you're at the home screen.
Like right here? And what I did here is I just took an image view. Didn't mean to put that one inside of here. Actually, this one's too big. Let me make this one smaller. There we go. Oh, actually, the image is right here. I'm going to delete this guy. I'm going to drag an image view over here. And I'm going to take one of these guys here and stick it inside. By using the image view properties is how I got it in there. I just went over here to the image. If I click on here, I get the image view. Wow. If I click back here, I get the view. So I don't want the view, I want the image view here. So if I click on the image view, I can change the property of the image that's showing in by going over here and selecting it from the list. These are all of the images that are over here automatically. So I like put this one in here. And then I can change, highlighted to, well, actually I'm not going to change the highlighted one. I believe this should be empty. There we go. I'm not quite sure what the highlighted does. I used another one that said like a border on the image. You can set properties for the image using the properties that are associated with this, or background. I believe there was a border on here. It's on opaque right now, the drawing. So I can change the properties here. If I run the app at this point, it should load. This is going to be really small, but it should load my picture up here. Ooh, it's changing the background to black, so it might not. I have to take that line out. In fact, if that were the case, I'd show you a brand new project, because this one's going to be black, I believe. No? Oh, actually, you know what? It's for the scroll view. I changed the background to black. So this one, my picture is still showing up here, and I still have the scroll view on the bottom. And I can still scroll it. I just made it real small. But this is how I got the picture here to show up. I can actually do one over on this. I can go like this. This is what I showed you last time. In fact, some people did this.
So we could drag those images on this program if you have multiple images. So we drag those images.
You don't have to drag anything. We did it all programmatically. For the scroll view example, we did it all in the code. We didn't drag anything. This is working from the code that we copied in there. I'm just supplementing this behavior with a few other options to show you. If you didn't write it in the code, you can do it this way. And here's a button as an example. And in the button, I'm going to put it on custom. And I'm going to change the image on the button right down here. I'm going to put, what was that number? I don't know, let's say number 2. This, believe it or not, is a button. So it has button activity. So I could wire this button. A lot of people do this actually. So right mouse click, control drag it, the touchdown event. I'm going to call this pick button. Same thing we were doing earlier today. And over here I can, I don't know, down here on the bottom I can put some behavior in here for the pick button. You know, like, I don't know, exit or something, do something. And so then when I run the program, and I click on that, it's going to look just like an image, but it's a button. And when I click on it, that's how you make like the state of California. You put the image out there and it's really a button. Or it's an image view, and you can actually change the image view around if you want to. If I run this guy, here he is here. I see this is a picture, but this is a button. See how you get the button effect? A lot of people don't like that. So they'll use the image. You click on the image and something happens. Same thing you learned in web development. If you've ever taken a web development course, is you got to use images to your advantage, menus, and everything is an illusion. Everything here is an illusion. Some people, actually, there's a way of turning this behavior off too. I believe I put this behavior on to the properties, but I can't remember what I did with it right now. But you see, if I click here, I don't get that behavior, but I get this behavior. So, everything you ever wanted to know about image views. Any more questions before I move on? Oh, yes. 1, 2, 3. Here, I have to go this way so you can actually see them. 4. Up 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I just change the vertical, scroll to horizontal. We put the frames in this way. Actually, we saw that with that icon. I put the icon. Because we hard set it to 600 by 600. The reason, okay, so pros and cons. You have more control from a programmatic perspective if you do it in the code. You have more control over the size, but it's harder to see the effects. You have not as much control, but it's easier to design the UI when you drag and drop it. Both of them are accomplishing the same thing. I can change one of these images, actually. I can say image, if I make an instance of the object of an image and copy it into this image view, make it into a property, and say this property.image, or this image is going to be equal to this, and set the image to a different image. So when you click on it, it thumbs through a bunch of images. That's another thing you can do with it as well. Same technique, actually. You're just changing this property on the image. Instead of it being equal to this picture, you're making it equal to another picture. Ah, okay, so that was in the code that was down here, and I believe I still have the scroll view open. So on the view did load, here's the code that is creating the images. Yes, I can, actually. Let's zoom in. There we go. I'm working on getting my text to become bigger, actually. And without having to zoom like this, because I don't think this picks up in the recording. But anyway, long story short, we're creating the images, and here's where we're coming up with the image name, image 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a JPEG file, it supports JPEG, PNG, GIF, all those other ones. And we're loading them into an image view that's going to be equal to the size and the width that we have set it above using that variable. And we've got the UI image as an object, and we have the UI image view, which is that image view that we're going to put inside of the UI scroll view. And the UI scroll view here, the layout scroll images method that we're calling is taking, whoops, I put it above. Here it is. It's taking the UI image view from my scroll view, sub-scroll views, we're basically creating an array of subviews, and we're stacking them in side by side, and we're setting the scroll for it to be. It's a lot of this behavior is automatic actually because of the nature of the scroll view. So we're setting the size so that it can be scrollable by making it bigger, making it the size of the complete images. So we're taking this image plus this image plus image. So basically have 5 of these suckers, and we can scroll from 0 to 5 to the end of 5, going through each one of them. You know, if you really want to learn this, play around with it. Get yourself some images. Develop your own image your scroll view. Play around with the parameters. See what it's doing. Go online, look up UI image view and UI scroll view, and see there's a lot of different things I didn't even show you. You can fade the images in and out. You know, so you know how those things you see in PowerPoint where the images come in and the images go away? You could layer multiple images on top of images in that scroll view, and then when you touch them, they go away. They change into something else. You can do all sorts of kind of interesting things with that, but you're not going to be able to, like, without a little bit of research. You have to actually research, like, what are the methods to run on this? What are the methods to run in order to get that to work? Which, the purpose of me showing this to you is to introduce the view concept. And that's an image view with a scroll view. Let's take a look at a web view. Just kind of complete the view sort of thing, because I'm looking at my time going, I'm getting a little bit late here. But you're not going to, until you start playing around with it, you're probably not going to get a full, complete, understanding of it. Also, it sort of helps to take the Objective-C course as well. Let's see. What do we want? We want the web view. The web view is actually inside of a sub-project here. And I want to show this to you because it is a view. And do I have a web view out here? I don't. It's on bhacker.com. And if we go into Spring 2013, iOS application development, example projects, and we go into basic projects, this is the one we want. Inside of basic projects, I'll just save it to my desktop. make sure this is the right one. Inside of basic projects, here we go. Here we go. It's called IPW Projects 1 on my desktop here. iPhone projects. It's this lovely thing that says WebView on it. We also have a finished product here. It's called Web Page. But I don't want to show you that. I want to show you the tutorial because this is going to show you how this is done. Easier than the ScrollView. This one takes like 15 minutes at the most. We'll get this one done tonight. So don't stress out. Telling myself that, don't stress out. It's okay, you got it. What are we going to do? We're gonna do the same thing as before. We're gonna open up a single view application. So go ahead and open up a single view. I'm gonna show you what a web view looks like. This one you'll find extremely interesting. Yes? Oh, okay. I thought you had a question. Okay, create a new Xcode project. Anything you want, universal. Now you know all the different objects. I just kind of pick single view iPhone just as simplicity's sake, but you may experiment with any kind you want. Single view, I've selected. I'm going to call this one my web view. I'm going to put it back on iPhone because it makes it easier for me. I'm going to click on Use Automatic Reference Counting, and I'm going to click on Next. And I'm going to save it on the desktop just like everything else. I can just throw it away at the end of the night. Now I have a viewcontroller.xib file that I just clicked on. Yeah, if we look at my cheat sheet over here. Oops, not this one. I have a cheat sheet here of a text wrangler. Here we go. We're going to take and we're going to drag over. Oh, what are we going to do here? Don't follow these instructions. We're going to drag over a web view. So take the web view. Actually, just type in web over here. And the instructions make it harder than it is. That's why I say don't follow it. We're going to do it easier. Drag a web view, stick it in the window. Sounds pretty good. Click on the little editor. We've got to wire the properties so we can read and write to it. So click on the web view, press down the control button, drag it over in between the interface and the end. You're in the .h file, hopefully. Let go. I'm going to call this my web view. Sounds pretty good. Press OK to connect it. I have a property, so I want to synthesize. So go over to the vcontroller.m, flip over to there. Called it my web view. I'm going to get rid of this interface up here because I don't like it. You can just leave it if you want. It just gets in my way. Underneath where it says at implementation, I'm going to add another at synthesize and call it my web view. Now I can read and write to a web view. Same thing you can actually do with an image view, by the way. Same thing. But we're going to see they have some different properties that we're going to set. On the view did load, let's just have the web view load Google. How's that? What does the web view do? It opens up a web browser window for us and gives us access to the internet. It's not giving us a full web browser, however. It's a web view. So we can have it go to a particular page or something, and then we can click on things on there. As you see, WebView will actually give us a Google page if we want. Alright. So let's see. The IB outlet. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure. I need to add an outlet here too, don't I? Well, I've got UI WebView. UI WebView. And I've got, okay, I didn't follow the directions, so I want to make sure I'm still compatible. This one is doing it programmatically. It's creating a web view for you without you having to drag and drop the web view. Because I'm trying to do this the opposite of what I just did a few minutes ago with the scroll view. I'm going to do it twice for you, actually. I'll remove the web view so we can see what it looks like without it. But we dragged a web view over and we stuck it on here. We're going to do it all through the interface. So on the bottom here where it says view did load, cut and paste this so we don't have to type it here. I'm going to copy it actually. I'm going to come over here in a view did load method. I'm going to paste this code and then I'm going to talk about the code for a second. And my web display is not called web display, I called it my web view. So I'm going to show you this to you twice so you can sort of see what I'm doing. Because this was, again, to demonstrate a point. So let's see if this works. And we dragged a web view, UI web view, and we put it on the canvas. And then we made a property and synthesized it, called it my web view. Right? And then in the view did load, actually I'm going to change this to Google here. You can change it to any website you want. Google. Let's put in google.com. I'm loading the super view did load, super objects view did load. Standard, just leave it in there. I'm creating a string. The string is going to be called a URL address, and the URL address for my string is going to be www.google.com. Any other string that we'd normally create looks the same way. I'm creating an NSURL object. I'm calling it URL. And this one is going to be an NSURL. I'm going to create a URL with the string, and the string I'm sending it is the string object that I previously created. So I'm running the method and URL with string, and hopefully by the next 2 or 3 more class meetings I'll go string with integer, float with string. It's a conversion method that's part of the object to take a string and turn it into a URL, because a URL is a different object entirely. You'd think it was a string, but it really isn't. So here we have the URL address. That's the string. And then URL request. I'm creating a request object that the browser is going to use to request the URL, which goes out and it's an HTTP protocol request. It goes out and requests this URL, which I happen to set to www.google.com. So on here it says NSURL request, and we have a URL request object that's going to be equal to the NSURL request with URL. So it's running a method called request with URL, and we're sending it a parameter which is a URL. And the URL is this URL here, which was made from the string here. Same concept as we did with the images, so maybe after seeing this a couple more times, you kind of see there's a pattern to this. Create a string, create a URL from the string, create a request object that uses the URL, tell the web view to load this request. That's what we're doing. So then on the bottom we say web view, load the request. What are we going to load it? With this request object. A little bit of hierarchy going on here. So this line creates the string, this line creates the URL from the string, this line creates the request from the URL, this line takes and loads the request into the web view. That's all we're doing. That's why I say it's an easy project. I can actually run it right now and Google's going to show up in my web view. So let's do it. And I put in the view did load so that when it loads up immediately. I could easily have created a button and put the button on there and load it from a button. So I can have a button that says load up this URL, load up that URL to do the same thing essentially. I could, not to complicate you even further, but I could take the web views, stick them in a scroll view. Oh, look at this, my web view. Would you like to use the current location? No, I don't want to allow that. It loaded up the mobile version of Google, because we're looking at the mobile UI, which is the Safari mobile that's loaded on the emulator. So this works. I can actually type in, what am I got? Caffeino. I'm looking at my cup. Caffeino. And we have Caffeino and Hayward. Oh yeah, that's where I go. Caffeino and Campbell. So oh look, they have an app. Download the app now? Oh, I'm not going to download the app now. You can see it's a fully functioning web browser, I hope. This, oh, Yelp. Oh, I can, okay, you get the idea. So I'm going to close down my web browser here. Let me show you something though, which makes this a learning exercise. I opened up the window here and I put this guy in here, right? I could write the same app by creating and if you go back to the instructions, this is what the instructions are having you do. Creating an IB outlet UI WebView, calling it WebView, and then after we've created, we're creating after we're creating this, we're actually putting in the property. We're not actually creating it. I'm not putting the items, just like the images. I didn't put them on the canvas. I didn't drag and drop them in. I'm just creating the object and using the object without dragging anything. So you can add into code this particular, here, let me just, don't do this because you already have it working, but I could do this. I'm going to create a new project and do it a second way, showing you how to do it programmatically without dragging and dropping and putting anything on the canvas. So I'm going to go here, another test. Create. Forget about the canvas, don't put anything on the canvas. We see the canvas is empty in this project. Completely empty. So instead I'm going to open up the view controller .h file and go back over to here, and I'm going to say, well, in the header file, put in this guy here, and let's property and synthesize it too. So in here, if you were in the iOS class earlier today, you saw we added data. Actually, we did the same thing. I think we created something similar to this, not a UI view, but we created another instance of an object in here the same kind of way. And then we can actually, so this is the web view here that we're going to create here, but I'm going to property and synthesize the web view. I can do that, as I was mentioning before. I didn't do it in the iOS class earlier, so I'm doing it now. So some people are getting this, I hope. At least you are, I know. So remember the opening and closing brackets as we're defining data, we're putting it in the .h file. Now I have this item here. I'm going to synthesize it over here. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to synthesize it. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this interface because I don't like it. I think I'm in here. I'm going to go at synthesize, and I'm going to put, what did I call that thing? Web display or something? Here it is, web display. And now I can cut and paste and put the same code in the view did load. Watch this. Actually, if I copy it here, it's going to have the same wording. Copy. Paste. Lovely. Run. This is going to load the itu.edu website, however, because I didn't change the URL to Google. So wait for a few minutes. Here we go. Give it some time. Maybe I should have put Google in there. Oh, I called it another test, didn't I? Here's the other thing too. So you see I got a lot of clutter here. I'm not quite sure which app is which app. I can go to the simulator here and I can press reset content settings and clean it out. Reset it. Let's change the URL to Google because I have a strange feeling that the mobile ITU website is gone. So let's go here and change this guy to Google. Or there's something wrong with it. This web display actually should work. Web display, web display. You know what though? I didn't wire it. Could be, it may not work actually. It may not work. Not gonna work. So then I go, alright, this one is not gonna work because it's not gonna wire. I'm not putting it inside of an event. I'm not putting it inside of anything that's out there, which is why it's not working. So I can go over here and I can work backwards with it. So I say, oh, it's not working. Why is it not working? Well, okay, so let me add the web view, right? So I can go here with the web view and drag it over, right? And I can say, well, I already have the control. Here's the control here. I can click on the control button and drag it backwards. Actually, I don't have to click on the control button anymore. I can just grab it backwards. And now I've connected it. So now it should work. I believe I changed it to Google, right? Yeah. So if I had that, it was actually loading it, but it wasn't connected to anything to the UI. I could have created another component on the UI and put the WebView inside of it. Now we got it working. But you see, I actually created the WebView inside of the code, took the WebView, didn't connect it to anything, but I connected it to something. The reason why it works with the ImageView is because we're putting it inside of something that was already connected. Remember, we took the ScrollView, we dragged it over, we connected it, and then we loaded everything inside of it. I just did the opposite here. I just created all the stuff and then created a WebView and put it inside of the WebView. So if I wanted to, I could just have done this. I could have created something else out here. Let's just delete this sucker right here and see the thing goes away, right? So let's put in here a table view. No, we don't want a table view. Let's see. Let's type in view. What do I got here? Text view. Text view out here. And inside of the text view, put a web view in here. Put the web view inside of the text view. And then take the web view. This is going to look weird, by the way. Now I connected it. This is going to look bizarre, actually. It's going to be a web view inside of a text view. It will work, though. But, you know, you could put a web view out there and it could be your entire app. It's just loading a web page. See my web views down here on the bottom? And the text view actually has a scroll to it, and I didn't align the text view properly on the screen, so it's not actually taking up the whole window. But this should work, actually, if I type in Cafino. Press return for search. There we go. Well, I didn't type in Cafino correctly. I have CCAF degrees now. But hopefully you get the point, I think, perhaps. So, let me show you something else, because I think this is actually kind of fun. Some of you have found these already, but let me show you something else that kind of puts this concept on steroids. So we have a lot of web developers out here who want to be app developers, but they don't want to invest so much time into web development, so they create what's called a web app. And the app is actually residing on an internet website, and they're loading the app through a web view. And you've just seen how easy it is to create a web view. It's not too bad. You don't need that many skills for that. If I go back out to that workshop site, there's one really cool in the digital arts program. Websites that are apps. So this is number 14. And I'm going to save it. And I'm going to find it hopefully on my desktop somewhere. Websites, website apps. Here we go. I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to run it so you can kind of see what we're looking at. And I'm going to show you something that's kind of interesting. So you have to install a mobile Safari if you want to see the same thing on a web browser as you see on the mobile Safari web view. No, it's okay.
What is the address for the workshop?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is bhacker.com/workshops. And then I'm loading all of this here. Let's see. bhacker.com workshops. And I'm looking at the digital arts link tonight. I need to organize this better. But it's under the digital. It's at DAAPPS. You'll see it. I'm looking at number 14, actually. What I should create is like a central repository for all these suckers. Getting organized. Here's the app running. Looks pretty cool. Looks like an app. You can click on stuff here. You can go back to here. Let's see. Contacts, downloads. Let's see. Favorites. Well, this is missing its back button. I have a better one, actually. The fourth one. It's a tab controller. So remember last week we did the tab controller? And we had the tabs on the bottom? This one's done with a tab controller. It also has a, doesn't have a scroll working right now. If I go ahead and then, I'm going to leave it on this one right here actually, because this one's pretty cool. This one's on the fourth one. If I go ahead and look at the fourth controller, the source code for the fourth controller, I can sort of see that this is the URL that's being loaded. What I've got is a web view in each one of those tabs. So you create a tab view. I can do it in a few minutes if you want to see. And in each one of them, you put a web view in it. And you load a new website in each one of them. This is what I wanted to show you, though. So if I copy this, if I have a, here's Safari. If I put it in Safari, I believe it should look the same. I know you guys can cut down the talking in the back. We're not quite done yet, but you're making a distraction. I don't know what he said, but I agree. See this URL? I just got to it by pasting it. I cut it out of the code and I pasted it into this Safari program, the Safari web browser. And you can see how it's spaced. Kind of looks like an app. Well, that's what this, where'd it go? That's what this is. So the interesting thing is if you weren't running the app and you were on your mobile phone and you went to this URL, you get the same look. This is mobile Safari compatible. So here's what people do, and this is not a good one. Let's see, put one that has a, here's one that's interesting. This is the contacts tab, and I just randomly named the tabs different things. I don't know which one the contacts one is. Let's see, it's 1, 2, the second one. So the second view controller. This one is this one here. So I take this URL out and put it in here. AlexBerga.com. Oh, he's running a little bit slow. Maybe it's my computer. Here it comes. See, the other one was centered. This one's on the left-hand side of the screen, which is kind of interesting. But he wrote his app he wrote his web pages to sort of look like an app. It sort of looks like an app. So when you click on stuff, well, here it takes you to Flickr. So let's see what happens when I click on this over here. This is the same one, so I click on it. Takes me to Flickr. It's loading the mobile version. Actually, now it's getting me this get the app thing. So the behavior is not necessarily predictable, not necessarily app-like, because it's loading a website and you're using essentially mobile Safari. So what people do, and this is kind of like one of the non-intentional ways of using it when you just don't want to develop your own app. But what it's really good for is this will run PHP, Python, Perl, JavaScript, JSON, all this sort of technologies of our web communication. Because here's the thing, and I'm putting together an example. Actually, it's your example. I'm going to put together an example which I haven't got ready yet, which probably next week I'll probably have it ready, where you could take, let's say for example, pictures on the phone and upload it to a server, or take content and download it from a server, or exchange information back and forth. There's third-party libraries to do it. There's also web techniques. So you can use JavaScript as an example. You can use PHP. On the server, you get through it through a web browser. The web browser does nothing more than run the PHP script that uploads or downloads something, sends and receives. So you can combine your knowledge of web development, if you have any background in that, or client-server computing. Use that with your web development skills, and you can create a bunch of apps that communicate with servers, that create forums, chat, messages stuff. I actually have a couple of chat stuff that's down right now that I need to fix. But so inside of the app, you can see something that is going to share information, let's say from a chat perspective, or from a forum, or from something that's shared among everyone who's using the app. You could also interface that not only with the mobile version of it, but you can create a real version of it. So just by changing the URL, by changing the HTML interface to it from the web perspective, you can have the same system that's accessible from devices, from apps, from websites. which is actually kind of trendy right now in terms of what people are doing. So before everyone had to have a website, now they needed a mobile website, right, for mobile. Now they need an app website, which is a quick and easy way of integrating everything in. So if you created a website for, let's say, Amazon or something, which there's using a lot of web interface for, you're just patching and interfacing with the real commerce engine, the real shopping cart. You're just calling it, it's a web browser. You have full web browser support on that app. And that's the WebView. So the WebView here in this particular case is taking up the whole app. And here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 web views that are taking up the app. It doesn't have to take up the whole app. You know, there's also libraries out there, essential libraries and stuff, where I believe I've got a couple of the libraries out on that Digital Arts webpage, actually. Not this one. There's a different one. We have one here under Web Developers, Mobile App Development for Web Developers. The link right above it has got a bunch of JQ Touch essential libraries. What does that give you? Buttons that go on your website that look like buttons on the iPhone. Menu bars, GUI controls that are wrappers made from JavaScript, JQ Touch. It's a touch interface made to create controls buttons that look like buttons on the mobile devices. Not only for iPhone, they have libraries for Android too. You can do the same thing on an Android phone too. Or you can create a universal app, so when you load it up on an Android, it looks like an iPhone. But all you have is a different project with a different web view in it. It's loading the same app. It's just loading it on multiple devices for you. So that's what makes a view very powerful, yeah?
The source of the content from this that's on this phone, that's from
a website.
Okay, that's source.
Yeah, what I did is I just kind of went in here, and that one, which one was that? Number 4? If you look in the 4th code, this is the same identical code we just cut and pasted and we made working in that single view application. It's on the view did load, it's doing the same thing, but this URL here's the trick. Instead of using Google, actually here, I'm going to copy this one, right? I'm going to go back to, where's that project we had? No, this will be my final conclusion, don't worry about it. I am wrapping up here. I copied the URL, where's my, here's another test. I'm going to put the URL into this app that we just created. And you'll see it's just nothing more than loading up that URL. Oops. So get rid of this guy. Here's our URL. So put this in here. Make this guy a little bigger. And then in the code here, instead of loading Google, let's load in that other one. Except for I copied, there we go. Is that right? It looks pretty good to me. Let me load this guy back up over here and change this guy so he fits up the whole screen. We're close enough. Runner, and we should get that website that shows up in the single view app. Unless I deleted the link accidentally. No, I think it's still connected. I stuck it inside of something and I deleted what I stuck it inside of. We'll see. Here it is. It's loading up. There it is. That fancy website. We didn't put any scroll bars on it though. We could change the web view, web display to put up and down horizontal scrolls on it. I didn't put any scrolls on it. There's a method that you run to put the scroll bars on it. Otherwise, this one's not scrolling. But this is the same one that was showing up in number 4. It's just the URL. And actually, if you check the phone and you type that URL in, it's going to show up the same way too. So how do people know that that's an app, or is that a... Yeah. So what you can do is stream advertisement to it, which is like what a lot of people do. Send pop-ups. No, you can't send pop-ups, but you can stream your own advertisement, update the content on it. dynamically. So somebody installed the app like 5 years ago, or that's impossible these days, but 6 months ago, you can change the ads every day. And if it's pulling it from a website, because you can just put a little web view up there that pulls from the website. It puts a little banner ad at the top of your, okay, so all these free apps you get, they have the little banners on the bottom. That stuff constantly changes if you haven't noticed. It's being fed from a web view. So all those little ads for all this stuff can change dynamically from the outside, and so they can keep your ads up to date. Not that they really need to, but they can keep it all up to date constantly, because it's not pulling it from your app. It's not inside your app. It's from an external site that your app's going to go get it.
Do we have to use any special reviews for that?
No, it's a web view. So this web view is taking up the whole page right here, right? So what I'm talking about is just taking the web view and making it smaller. So it's on the bottom of your page. Hey, come on. Okay, my mouse is no longer cooperating. Here we go. No. So we have to do this here. Let me just pull this out. Well, I was trying to resize this web view. Oh, here we go. Get it out of here. So I'm going to resize it and put it on the bottom of the screen. Now, mind you, the content's not going to look right because it's not sized for the bottom of the screen. But it could very well be like little ads, you know, like buy this product, buy that product. And then when you buy the product or you buy the app, it disables the web view. So you don't see those nasty little ads anymore. So. Oh, did I take it out? I took it out of the view. Well, I meant to resize it. It's out of the view right now. Why are we not in the view? Put you in the view. Well, we are in the view. I'll put it up here. There we go. It should be showing, unless I disconnected it. I may have broken the link. Let's see. Now we're still connected. I may have made it too small, perhaps. Let's see. Well, I think I understand the point. Oh, here it is. But it's not going to load anything because I may not have set this big enough to actually load it properly. So, oh, here it is. No, it is loading it. My internet, perhaps my internet speed is a little slow right now. Doesn't make any sense because it's so small you can't see it. But if this was, you know, some ad and you clicked on this ad and it brought you to some site, actually looks pretty cool. Brought you to some site to select something. Then you're gonna. This is a sensor control actually. Looks like a wheel, but it's built onto the website. It could possibly add some dynamic content from an internet website, essentially. I'll leave you with that. So if you want to get the most out of tonight, play around with these examples here. Experiment on your own. I'd experiment with the views. The image view, the UI scroll view, the web view. You got tons of views to play with now. And there's more views. All you got to do is go online or grab one of those books, you know, from the PDF files I told you to go look at. And you'll see all of the different view components. It's all done the same way. You drag the view, put the view on the canvas, or programmatically create the view inside of another view. Link the view up, have it do something. Depends on the type of view. If it's an image, it's going to load an image in there. Put the view inside of another view. In fact, I have another app, if you find it, it's got a menu bar on the top where you put a bunch of buttons and it clicks on different, and it shows different stuff in different views. Some of them shows a picture. You can actually take and load in PDF files, and you can load it. You can actually create your own ebook in 5 minutes. Take your PDF file of the book, drop it into the project if you want to do it that way, or link to the PDF online. It'll format and read the PDF file as if it were locally, actually. The only problem is it's a little slow depending upon the size of the PDF file. But you can drag it in and then have the web view or the whatever view you're using. Just like the image views loaded the images from the local directory, you can load a PDF file into a view from the local directory. And then you can load a text file in, and I'll have some more examples of this next week, but you can layer a text on top of a PDF, on top of a video file, actually that's really cool when we look at video files, or link to the video files. You can actually put an HTML text file in here, load the HTML file from the WebView inside of the app. So
Can you make a database connection?
yes, you can, and we're going to see databases not next week, probably within about 2 weeks. It's more of an intermediate, because then you got to know about SQL. It supports SQLite, so each app can have its own database connectivity to it. We're getting the data, but we got to get past some of the interface stuff first. Coming up, this is only the third class meeting, so questions. Okay, we're done. I'm done. I'm done talking. If you're done listening, we're done. All right, thank you. See you next week for more exciting topics. Bring your device next week. I'm going to try and reserve some time for it.